Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another Breakfast with Blaha. And today I'm going to chat with you guys a little bit about fruit. This is one of the things that comes up, and actually, while we're on the topic of fruit and sugar, I've actually had people make ridiculous comments when I'm eating the Greek yogurt, fat-free Greek yogurt, plain, no sugar added of any type. Will chime in. There's a lot of sugar in that yogurt. It's like, wow. Again, and if people actually aren't trolling when they make statements like that, it shows that they don't have any knowledge of even basic nutritional science. And it's almost scary that people who are into fitness don't realize basic things like this. All right, we're going to jump into in a minute on why we're concerned with sugar. But the word sugar simply means, when we see it like on a nutrition label for the grams of sugar, it just means it's a simple carbohydrate. Simple carbohydrate doesn't automatically mean a larger insulin response or faster absorption. Okay, it doesn't mean that at all. It just means that it's a simple carbohydrate. In the case of this, we're dealing with what? Cultured lactose. Lactose is actually a slow absorbing carb. It's slower absorbing than a lot of complex carbohydrates. A lot of people don't know that, but it is. When you culture it in yogurt, it slows it down even further. Okay? It slows down the absorption even further. And it's mixed with mostly casein protein. That actually reduces the digestion rate. This is one of the slowest absorbing carbohydrates you can possibly find. Like, it's in the 5% slowest anywhere in existence. Okay? So why would you be concerned? And you really shouldn't even be that concerned with absorption rates for the most part if you're relatively healthy. What do I mean healthy? You don't have type 2 diabetes, you're not pre-diabetic, you don't have insulin resistance. I obviously don't have any of these issues. Even my DEXA scans in the past kind of confirmed, yeah, I don't have any metabolic issues. Because again, I have almost no visceral fat. My fat's all subcutaneous. Like, I had just a couple ounces around my organs. Ounces. So this shouldn't even be a concern. But let's come over to sugar. Why is it that we're concerned with sugar? Well, it's a concern of metabolic health. It's not the fast absorption that's that big of a deal of carbohydrates. It's that refined sugars are full of fructose. Take sucrose, which when we see sugar in the ingredients, that means table sugar, which is sucrose. Sucrose is 50% fructose, 50% glucose. Right? You guys following me? With a little simple bond holding them together. It's your stomach acids break up. Another refined sugar is high fructose corn syrup. It has even more fructose. It's 55% fructose, 45% glucose. So it has 10% more fructose in it per gram. Why are we concerned with this? Because fructose is not usable by the body. The human body cannot burn fructose as a fuel source. We can burn glucose. So any other, like a starchy carb or any glucose-based carb, or even the glucose from those sugars, when it hits your bloodstream, your body can use it immediately. Your organs, your muscle tissue, everything else can burn it for fuel immediately with no further changes as soon as it hits the bloodstream, right? It's immediately usable blood sugar, which is what our body runs on, right? Human body runs on glucose primarily. Fat is a secondary fuel source. We tend to use more fat when we're in a calorie deficit, obviously, because again, we don't have as much glucose readily handling. But we run on glucose. So the human body is designed to run on primarily and efficiently. It's our preferred fuel source. Fructose isn't usable. Now, the gut, given enough digestion time, converts some of the fructose into glucose. Your actual gut flora, if you have a healthy GI tract and healthy gut flora, it will convert quite a bit of the fructose into glucose before it reaches the bloodstream. Any that doesn't has to be processed by the liver. You guys, hopefully people are following this. Okay, if the liver has to process it, does it through a very similar pathway to which it converts alcohol? All right, very similar pathway. Also puts strain on the liver. So is fructose intake, when it's relatively low into the bloodstream, the liver handles it just fine. It puts stress on the liver, but the liver can handle this. without any health problems. It's good at it. When it starts to become excessive, so again, like with anything else, what are we talking about? We're talking about excess. When you consume too much of certain things, they become harmful. I mean, fructose is an example. Saturated fat's an example. At low levels, saturated fat's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine, doesn't harm you in any way. At certain thresholds, it becomes less so, it becomes more problematic. And with fructose, when your liver cannot handle the load of it, and usually that's about 50 grams a day. 50 total grams through the day of straight fructose getting to your bloodstream is where you start seeing problems. And that's where the liver starts to be burdened by it. And when that happens, some of it gets stored as fat in the liver. Okay, we start developing metabolic issues as a result of that. Fatty liver. Non-alcoholic fatty liver is usually a result of excessive refined sugars in your diet. Too much fructose. It causes insulin resistance, right? It can cause insulin resistance, which is a major metabolic health problem. We should be concerned with that. So, people will hear that and say, aha, so then that's why fruit's got sugar in it. Well, again, keep in mind not all sugars are equal. Yes, there is quite a bit of fructose in fruit. However, it's not the same thing. Gram per gram, it's not the same as those. Why? Because the refined sugars go through your digestive system much, much, much quicker, right? Your body doesn't have to do any real breaking down. The stomach acids do all the breaking down it needs. You start absorbing it very early in the upper intestine into the bloodstream. It doesn't have to have a lot of transient time. It doesn't spend much time in there with all that gut flora. Fruit, on the other hand, is bound into a matrix. It has to be digested. It's encased, it's got fiber all around it. All right, why does that matter? Because your stomach acids alone are not going to liberate the fructose to any large degree. They're going to digest a lot of it, get it flowing into your upper intestine and into your lower intestine. Fruit, a lot of the fructose, the majority of it, will make it to your lower intestine, where what happens? All those little healthy bacteria start breaking it down. As they break it down, they eat certain parts of it that they want to use, and they convert it to glucose. Then it's now just normal glucose. It's no longer a burden on your body. And we're not saying a little bit of fructose doesn't reach your bloodstream from fruit, because it does. But practically speaking, consuming enough to where it would burden the liver, you would have to eat impractical amounts of fruit. In other words, if you eat 20 bananas per day, or you eat an entire watermelon this big, it's not enough fructose that's going to reach your body to burden your liver. It's nowhere near. You would have to eat thousands and thousands of calories of straight fruit for this to become a major problem. It's not practical. In theory, you could do it, but practically it would be extremely difficult to do. And that's the difference. Again, it's one of those hypothetically possible, but remember, it's about chronic intake. It's about chronic intake. Are you going to eat 7,000 calories of fruit every day for 6 months straight? Because 1 or 2 days isn't going to really be a big deal. Your body will bounce back. It's that chronic loading. Now, getting the same amount of fructose in your bloodstream from, say, drinking a soda, right? So we call it here. Some people call it pop in other places, full of high fructose corn syrup. You don't have to drink that much to get the same fructose load you would get from 5,000 or 6,000 calories of fruit. You don't have to drink that much. A few bottles, regular bottles, a few of the cans, you'll get there. It'll get you to that same level. Okay, but they're not comparable. It's not a direct comparison gram for gram. So realistically, fruit is not a metabolic health concern. It's not an obesity concern, anything else. In fact, most of the data we have shows that people who eat the most fruit actually tend to be leaner. And societies and cultures that eat very, very large amounts of fruit actually have very low body fats and low rates of diabetes. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.